Hello and welcome. My name is Alexander Körner. Today I'm going to show you a brief demo of the Model Manager capabilities in the IBM Edge Application Manager server and on the client. For this purpose I'm going to use a much less powerful Edge device compared to my part 1 of the Taming the Edges series. So I'm using a Raspberry Pi Zero. I'm connecting the Raspberry Pi Zero to a power bank, a small power bank locally. And the Pi Zero is also connected to the IBM cloud in Frankfurt through a wireless LAN connection. So it takes a few seconds to start up the Raspberry Pi Zero, as you will notice in this kind of LCD screen. In the meantime, I'm opening the UI, the web UI of the Edge Application Manager, and I'm browsing through the overview screen, and I'm also listing now all the connected Edge devices. I'm going to have the focus today on the LXQ Pi Zero entry, which is this device you're going to see in the right-hand corner. And if I just click on the Pi Zero entry, you see the different properties for this Edge device. Like, for example, the number of CPU cores, the type of architecture, which is ARM, which is ARM 32-bit architecture, and the amount of memory. It has about 500 megabytes of memory. In addition, you're also going to see a specific property, which I have set manually, called has scrollfed HD equals yes. This scrollfed relates to the LCD, which you're seeing simplified, described as an LCD on my Raspberry Pi Zero. Now let's switch to the policies, my deployment policies. And I'm going to open this policy, which eventually is going to deploy a service to my Raspberry Pi Zero, which is able and capable to display messages based on file contents. In order to do so, I'm now enabling the constraint to set has scrollfed HD equals to yes, which means all devices which have this kind of this property will be able to receive now the payload, the Edge service, the Edge application. So after setting it in the server, it takes a few seconds, because I think the server needs to negotiate with the Edge device an agreement so it can actually deploy the Edge service to this device. Unlike in my part 1, I'm not logging into my Edge device, so I'm really keeping it kind of isolated, so to speak. I'm just monitoring its behavior through the web UI of the Edge Application Manager. So I'm just refreshing a few times just to see if my service is eventually up and running on my Raspberry Pi Zero. As I said, it definitely takes a few seconds. You can see the heartbeat is available, so my device is connected. And I think maybe during the next refresh, yes. Now we see that my service, my application is now up and running. And the application is a very simple one. It's a Python script. It's running in a loop, and it's taking the content of a file called config.json, and it's displaying one line, one element, one attribute out of this file, one property, as a text on the screen. Now I'm going to update. I would like to update this file using this MMS, the Model Management System. And please see this file as an example for, let's say, a more complex machine learning model, which can be updated. So I'm using this file. You see the content of the file says display message IBM Cloud Engagement Hub. And I'm now using the Horizon MMS object publish command, which is specifically addressing the LXQ Pi Zero Edge device and the running display MMS service on it by sending the config.json file, and the type or the name of the file is also config.json. So I'm just executing the script. As soon as I'm executing it, it's sending the content, the config.json file, to the Edge Application Manager, which is storing it in a MongoDB database. And also at the same time, the Edge Application Manager is checking its policies to see if my device qualifies for the new file. If yes, it's sending it down to the device. Locally on the device, my script is checking through a REST API if there's a new version of my file. So as soon as there's a new version, oh yeah, just watch the LCD screen, it's alerting there's an MMS update, which means it has received a new file. And in the next loop, hopefully everything goes right, it's displaying the new message, so prefixed by the name of my Edge device, LXQ Pi Zero, and hopefully it should be now IBM Cloud Engagement Hub. Again, as I said, this file definitely could be a machine learning model or any kind of a more complex file. It could be, for example, also a database scheme file to update an Edge database running on top or on the Raspberry Pi Zero, as an example. Okay, so let's do another loop here just to show it's still up and running. And in the next step, I'm going to edit the file again, just to show it's really working. So I'm modifying my config.json file again and to contain a different message. Again, just as a repeat, just to prove to you that's working very nicely. By the way, the demo is based on the Hello MMS demonstration, or which comes also with the Open Horizon setup, which is the open source equivalent to the IBM Edge Application Manager. So now it says hello from the Watson Center, from the IBM Watson Center, I believe. From the Munich Watson Center, oh sorry, hello from the Munich Watson Center. And I'm again publishing it, which means again it's first of all sending it down to the Edge device. The Edge device is storing it locally. My Python script is checking a REST API to see if there's an update. And yes, as you notice, it's recognizing there has been an update. And by the way, the different options of handling those files, I can delete them after sending them over. I can keep them if I would like to. There are different ways of handling them. And eventually, you will see the new message displayed here, basically saying, hello from the Munich Watson Center. Oh, by the way, the Munich Watson, the IBM Munich Watson Center is also the IBM office location I'm working from typically if I'm not working from home due to the current COVID-19 situation. So imagine what you could do, for example, in this case, if you might be running potentially not a complex machine learning model on a Raspberry Pi Zero, but maybe on a NVIDIA Jetson Nano or an NVIDIA Xavier NX or so, then you can just simply update the underlying machine learning file. Let's go back quickly to the web GUI of the Edge Application Manager. Now I'm setting back my constraint saying has scrollfed HD is equal to no, which means now I'm more or less just turning off the deployment. I'm terminating the deployment of my Edge service to this device. And it already stopped, by the way. So just in the middle, it just hold on, as you might see, so that was kind of quick. And I can also monitor, there might be a slight delay of displaying the status of the service. So I need to refresh the screen 1 or 2 times. And you can actually see that the service has stopped running on my Raspberry Pi Zero. And by the way, since I'm using a Raspberry Pi Zero, you definitely can imagine that you can use any kind of even smaller Edge devices to run an Edge Application Manager agent on it. Okay, that's basically it. Thank you for watching. And hopefully you will also join me for my next part of the series eventually. Have a good day.